What is going on, guys? Welcome back to this new temporary setup. Today we're going to discuss the modern way of doing web scraping. We're going to get rid of proxies, we're going to get rid of unlockers and of custom scrapers, and we're going to use scraper APIs. This is going to make the entire process much less tedious and also less prone to breakage, because we don't need to manually update our scrapers every time the site changes its structure. In this video, we're going to take a look at examples for travel, e-commerce, and social media. So if you like this video, let me know by hitting the like button and subscribing. But now, let us get right into it. Alright, so I want to jump into this right away with an example. We're going to take a look at Amazon. Let's say you're on Amazon and you want to automate a process, an e-commerce process. You want to scrape for products, you want to find certain products, you want to automate something using Amazon. Now, the thing is, Amazon has a certain structure, and to be fair, this site doesn't change too often, but theoretically, if I, for example, type something like, I don't know, laptop, for example, then this site has a certain structure. So I have these laptops here, I have the price, and if I go and inspect the source code, you can see that probably there's going to be some identifiers, some classes, so this site has a certain structure. Now, if I want to build a large-scale web automation application, or if I want AI agents to maybe use tools that work with these interfaces, so they should be able to do automations, web automations on Amazon, I'm relying on a couple of things. First of all, I have to handle proxies because maybe my IP address will be blocked. Maybe there's going to be some issues that need to be unlocked. Maybe I have to target specific fields, and 1 month from now, these fields have a different class, a different name. A lot of pages do this automatically. So I have to keep this up to date. I have to manually invest engineering hours to keep this up to date. And the more professional, the more large scale I am, the more I have to do this. And on a larger scale, I have to do this. So the better alternative would be to have something where I don't have to care about this, to have some API. Let's say if I use NeoVim now to illustrate this, let's say I can submit a JSON package, something like query. Of course, I would have to use quotation marks here, query. And then I would do something like laptop, and then I have filter options. And no matter what happens on Amazon's end, I can just use the same API in the same way. So I can just use query, laptop with a bunch of filters, and I always get the response that I'm looking for. So this API that I'm using does everything behind the scenes. It handles proxies, it handles the unlocking mechanism, it handles the website changes. I don't have to do anything, I just have to target this API. This is what we're going to talk about today. This is the modern way to do web scraping because you don't have to do anything anymore. You just have to target the same API. What happens behind the scenes is not your concern. And to show you how all of this can work, today we're going to look at Bright Data. Now, to be transparent, Bright Data is sponsoring this video today, so this is a paid promotion. You'll find a link to them in the description down below. But they have been a long-term partner of this channel, and they are a very powerful platform when it comes to unlocking the web, doing scraping, doing anything that is related to proxies. Today, we're going to specifically look at the scraper API. So you want to log into your Bright Data account, and then you can just click on web scrapers here. So this is going to take you to the scraper API section. And the convenient thing here is that you can use the web scrapers library. So you don't have to define anything yourself. You can just go to the library and then you can type in what you're interested in. For example, we just covered Amazon. Let's type in Amazon. This is going to allow us to go to Amazon.com. And what you will find here now is that we have scrapers and ready to use data sets. Now, data sets are just already existing and you can just pull data from them. And here you have the scraper. So if I click here on Amazon.com, I'll be taken to the scraper API. And here I have different endpoints that I can target. So remember what I showed you in the NeoVim, in the JSON structure, we can do the same thing here, depending on what kind of endpoint we choose. For example, I can go down here to discover by keyword to basically do what I did in the NeoVim file. So I can reduce this to be a single keyword. And instead of looking for light bulb, I can look for laptop. So that would be a key value pair here. Keyword would be laptop. I can also filter for zip code if I want to. I will go with synchronous real time. So I want to get the result right away. And then I also want to set a record limit. Let's say I'm interested in only 10 records. So only 10 laptops that I'm going to get returned based on that. And then once I'm done, I can preview here the request. This is also showing, I think, my API key. I'm not entirely sure if that's the case. I don't think so. Yeah, I can put in the API token here if I want to, but this is basically the corresponding curl command, and I can now go and run this manually. This is going to submit this and return a JSON object with the result. There you go. Now we can see it's ready. I can click on download here, and this is going to allow me to download the JSON file. And if we open it in NeoVim, we can see that for every single record here, we have a whole bunch of information. So the title, the seller name, the brand, description, currency, availability, and so on. A bunch of stuff that can be useful for scraping. Also some custom key value pairs, I think. So this would be, I think dynamic type would be the key, value would be the value. But you can see that all I had to do is I had to ping an API. And the cool thing is now if Amazon takes its structure and does something completely different, so tomorrow Amazon looks unrecognizable, this API will adjust to it. So we don't have to manually change the logic behind the API because Bright Data does that for us basically. And I can just target the same API with the same request, and I will also get the same type of response here. Now let's go back to the library and try something else. Let's go with something that is related to social media, for example. Let's go with TikTok. So TikTok.com, and then we can go to the scrapers, and here we should also have discover by keyword, and then maybe you can type something like hashtag technology, for example. If you're doing some social media automation, this might be useful. If you're trying to recognize trends or something, you can go again synchronous. We can go set record limit 10 and then run manually. And this is going to, again, create a snapshot. And then again, we can just click on download, get the JSON file, open it with NeoVim. And now you can see here URL, post ID, description, create time, and how often it was shared and how often it was played and how long the video is and what the hashtags are and all that. So this can be useful for social media analysis, for example. The use cases, the specific use cases are not that important. Actually, the idea is that you have a lot of these APIs that you can just plug and play. Do you have a use case for TikTok Shop where you need to discover by category, plug and play with the API? You just specify the parameters and you get the response object. Whatever TikTok changes in its structure, whatever Amazon changes in the structure, it doesn't matter because it's going to automatically adapt to it. You don't have to do any engineering effort. You don't have to invest any engineering time to make this work. So now let's go back a final time. Let's go to the library and try something travel related. Let's go with Airbnb. This is a common use case if you want to find some some vacation home or something. You can easily find it on Airbnb, but maybe there's a lot of offers, maybe there's a lot of things to check out. So what you can do is you can filter by certain specifications that are important to you, and you will automatically find the best apartments. So for this, we're going to go to discover by location. We're going to get rid of most of these. We're going to go with Thailand, for example. Now it's important that you make sure the check-in date is not in the past. Otherwise, you're going to get an error here. But if I go with something like 2026, which the entry here is a bit buggy. So let me do that again. So 2026 and also 2026 here. Then we can also specify other things like number of adults, number of children, number of pets, currency, country. You can specify all of this and then again, just run manually. But before that, maybe let's set a record limit here again. So 10, run manually. And here again, you can see it finished. So we can go download. And then when we open it, we can see again here that we have the different properties, rental unit with the price. I guess this is in thousands, probably, not sure. With the description, with the guests, with the pets allowed, yes, no, and all that. So this is just another example here for a different industry. The main point I'm trying to make is that regardless of what platform you're trying to get data from, you can go to the web scrapers library and you will find a bunch of different scrapers here. So you will find the most popular ones, but you can also go specifically for e-commerce, for example. There you'll find Amazon, there you'll find Google, eBay, Walmart. But as you can see, you have 106 domains here. So if you go to show all, you have a very, very large selection here. And again, to reinforce this, you can just easily go into any one of those, pick an API endpoint, and just use this plug and play. Now, of course, you don't want to use this only in Bright Data in this web interface. You also want to use this in Python, for example. So if I go with something like discover by keyword here in Walmart, I can also go to the language here. I can select Python. So let's say using the requests package here. And this is going to give me the entire code that is necessary to run this exact thing. So maybe to keep this simple, let's go back to Amazon and let's go back to the query that we already did. So let's say laptop. Let's also limit here to 10. And now let's change this to be Python. This is now the code that we need. You can see that it also limits here per input equals 10. So I can just copy that, can open up my terminal, navigate to the tutorial directory. And here now, let's say I want to create a UV project, UV init, UV add. I'm going to add the requests package. And now I'm going to adjust the main PY file to actually use this. Now, of course, what you can see is it says API token. We will have to place this manually. The professional way to do that would be to load it from an environment file. To keep it simple, what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to paste the raw token into the code just to speed things up. Where do you get this API token? You get this from Bright Data. So you go to your account settings, then you go to users and API keys. And then down here you have API keys, and you can just easily use the one here with the admin permission. So I can go and refresh this one. This now gave me a new API key, which of course I'm not going to show on screen. And now I'm just going to copy paste it here after Bera. So you want to have Bera space and then the API key. Then I can just run this UV run main PY, and this is now going to do the exact same thing that we did here manually. So you can see on the snapshot page here for Amazon.com, this one is running and it was triggered by the code. Now, of course, this only creates the snapshot. It doesn't actually download the information. So what you can do is you can create a second script. In this case here, I have main2 and main2 redacted, which is basically the same file, just in the main2 redacted, the API key is not shown. So that would be it. You just provide the snapshot ID. You provide again the Bera token here as an API key. Or the API key is Bera token. And then we do another GET request to API Bright Data, datasets, snapshot, then the snapshot ID and format equals JSON. And then we can print the JSON response. Now here, the snapshot ID is this particular column. So you can just click on it, copy it, you can paste it here. And when we run this, we can now get the information. Of course, now I'm going to run main2py, not the redacted one. Otherwise, I don't have the authorization. And there you go, we have the entire dictionary object, which of course we can also easily save as a JSON file. It's not, again, too much about the implementation. This is only a proof of concept to show you how this works. But the cool thing is now, once I have this set up, once it actually works, once I actually get the data that I want to, and once I have this in my pipeline and it's a part of my process, I don't have to care about it anymore. If something changes, it's going to be changed in the API as well, but my interface remains the same. Now, finally, I want to show you how we can integrate all of this with an AI agent. Here I have a script where I use LangChain to create an agent using OpenAI's GPT-4o mini model. So quite simple. And we have a tool called Query Amazon. This, of course, uses Bright Data. So we have the same structure of sending a post request to Bright Data to create a snapshot and then to poll the API every 10 seconds to see if the snapshot is ready, to then get the information, then the agent can display the information to the user in a clean way. That is the idea here. So I have the OpenAI API key here in the environment. I also have the Bright Data API key. And all I have to do now is I have to say UV run main3.py. You can ignore the error message above because I forgot to add a doc string. But then you can see it asks me, what do you want to search for on Amazon? Let's say this time I want to use headphones. Now, what it's going to do is it's going to create a snapshot. So it's going to send this request to the API, and hopefully we're going to see it here in the snapshot tab. There you go. You can see it's running. And once it's done, it's going to display the answer in a well-structured way here in the command line. So you can see it says snapshot and then the ID created, waiting for results. And there you go, we get a response. As you can see, this is markdown, doesn't look too beautiful in the command line, but if this was a web interface, we would have proper headings and bold text here and all of that. But you can see we get some headphones, we get the price, the rating, the features, the delivery, and now we can also ask follow-up questions. If we program this to be a loop with the agent where we can talk back and forth, we can talk about the results and I can ask it to filter stuff. So that is also a very useful thing. And now this agent, I repeat, if something changes in Amazon's structure, we don't have to do anything. The agent will still work because the API will automatically adjust to the changes. That is the USP here of these web scrapers. So yeah, if you're still using proxies, if you're still using web unlockers, it makes sense to try this out. Go to the web scrapers of Bright Data. You will find a link in the description down below. If you click on this link and sign up to Bright Data, you will get $20 of credits to play around with for free. You can also use the promo code Neural9 if you want to. Both works. And then you can see how much maintenance disappears when you use scraper APIs as opposed to proxies and unlockers. So that's it for this video today. I hope you enjoyed it and hope you learned something. If so, let me know by hitting a like button and leaving a comment in the comment section down below. Also, make sure to check out Bright Data. The link in the description down below, as I already mentioned, gives you $20 of credits for free to play around with. And besides that, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell to not miss a single future video for free. Other than that, thank you for watching, see you in the next video, and bye.